They don't have the experience to justify that certification, and I have been always telling this, that your certification should be a proof of the work you have done in the past. Because there was short circuit, the water was leaking from the lights and from the ceiling. It was horrific. Hello friends, welcome to IT Ke Fun Day, your own channel where we make IT interesting for everyone. I am Anshul Tiwari and I have over 18 years of experience working in IT industry, and I have played various roles in the span of these 18 years. The idea is simple. Through this channel, we want to make IT interesting for everyone. Whether you're from IT background or a non-IT background, idea is simple. We want to democratize IT for everyone. So in this video, we will talk about one of the most sought after role in IT, and that is the role of an architect. Cloud architect, solution architect, enterprise architect, network architect. What are these roles actually do? So in this particular video, we will explore these different 4 aspects. Number 1 would be, we'll understand and we'll touch base upon what kind of parameters you should think of when you want to decide that I should either go into a management role or into an architect role. We'll take a real life example, and a very interesting example to understand this. Then we'll understand different roadmaps and different levels which we can take. Obviously there will be nuances to it, but you will get a very good understanding of what kind of paths you can take if you want to move up in the architect arena. Then some hard skills and soft skills, what an architect needs, and finally some myths. We'll bust some myths about being an architect. So this video is packed with information, but guys, I have seen a lot of you still don't, almost 85% of you don't subscribe to the channel. So if you find any value, or if you are new to this channel, do consider subscribing, and if it adds any value, please hit the like button. So with that said, let's get started. So guys, let's break manager versus architect confusion using a real life example. For example, this particular developer is working for a company, a construction company called as CCC, Confused Construction Company, a famous name, you know, I have just made it out. So Confused Construction Company is a famous company which makes housing easy and affordable for everyone, and they have a set of 50 developers. This guy is one of those developers working in the firm for many years now, and he wants to now take the next leap into CCC. And the CEO of CCC have suggested him 2 different paths. One leads to the management and another leads into the architect role. Now you tell me which one resonates to you more. So in the first role, the CEO or the manager or the lead of this particular developer has asked him to lead the whole 50 developers and the construction project on its own, managing the budget, managing the salaries of these employees, managing the operational activities, the project plan, everything, and ensure that whatever projects we are undertaking, it is getting finished on time and within budget. That will be his main role. On the other hand, the other path is that he becomes the main construction architect who would be designing the whole architecture of this particular house or any new house which they build. And in that, he would have 1 or 2 architects working with him, but it will be his own responsibility to understand and create the design patterns, what would be the standards while building this house. Now, this particular developer was the SME of brickwork. He knew the brickwork like anything. But now when he is moving into building this house, then he has to understand other nuances which he didn't knew. For example, if you have to build this house, you have to take design approval from a certain authority like a municipal corporation. For example, you have to understand how plumbing works, how the electricity or the electrical fittings or the solar roof will be fitted, and how we will make sure that it is earthquake proof and flood proof. All those kind of design decisions has to be undertaken by him, and based on that particular blueprint or that particular design, the developers will start working on it. Now there is no direct work he is doing from the delivery standpoint. So in terms of an architect, his main role is to make sure that this whole house is sustainable, is stable, is resilient, and it is fault tolerant, and in future it is scalable as well. For example, if this particular house has to be elevated to second and the third floor, there has to be enough in the design so that it could manage that particular load. Okay, so all that thing has to be done by this particular developer. Now he has to decide which particular path resonates more. Even with the manager, he could continue as a brick worker, he could continue to provide technical expertise, but that would be optional. And on the other side, as an architect, he could also be a part of project planning activities and provide inputs, but then that will be not his core responsibility. So friends, recently I got to know the importance of an architect. I just tell you my own story. So recently I was waiting for my train in a railway station, and there was sudden downpour, heavy rainfall, which was not expected because right now it is summer here in India. But suddenly it was so heavy that the AC waiting room, there was a sinkhole, and because of the pressure of the water, it was blown out, and all the water started flowing into the AC room. Everyone had to be evacuated because there was short circuit. The water was leaking from the lights and from the ceiling. It was horrific. And then I got to remind that if the design is not right for the rainy days, for the worst case scenarios, your whole project could be derailed. So it is a very, very crucial role, guys. Just don't understand that you just have to design few diagrams and that is done. You will form the bedrock, the base on which the project will be either successful or unsuccessful. So a very important role. And similarly, I'm not undermining a manager role. I have been both, by the way. I have been a manager as well as an architect. I have played both ways, and I know the goods and the bads of both. Okay, so you have to decide. You have to decide, guys, which one comes to you more naturally. Now, with that apart, now let's focus on the architect roadmap. Clear architect roadmap. Guys, I know it is confusing. Don't skip the video. Let me explain it. Okay, let me explain it. This is very easy. You have to just hear me out. Okay, and it will be something which I have prepared based on my experience and research, and there will be a lot of caveats. So just hear me out for some time. So whichever role you are in IT right now, you can move to any kind of architect role, and there could be number of options for you to move around different architect career paths. Okay, so for example, if you are a network engineer, a security engineer, a system admin, or a server admin, okay, all these kind of roles generally tend to move towards a network architect, security architect, infra architect, and all of these could be into a DevOps architect kind of a role. Now if we have to go and nail down every nuance of these roles, it would be a course in itself. Okay, so if you are interested in a specific architect role, let me know and I can think of preparing a new video. But for now, just understand by the name that a network architect is responsible for preparing the designs and the strategy of how the network architecture would look like for a project, for a program, for a company. And then similarly, it applies to security architect who maintains the security design for any project. He makes sure that whatever frameworks you are using for security are perfect. For example, NIST is a very important cybersecurity framework. So a security architect has to be responsible for ensuring that your program or project or product implements that particular framework. DevOps architect is now becoming a very, very good role because a lot of DevOps engineers, I've missed DevOps. So guys, it's not possible for me to nail down, but I'm just giving you an idea of how you can progress. Okay, so DevOps architect, anybody could go into DevOps architect. Okay, even these roles which are data specific, DBAs, data engineers, data analyst, ETL developers, all these are also qualified to go into DevOps. Similarly, for lead developers, this is the application front end, back end developers, they can also progress naturally towards DevOps architect. So as I said, don't take this as the bottom line. Okay, don't take this as something a blueprint. You have to drive your own path, and also the levels Okay, these levels which I have created is based on my understanding, but at the same time don't take it in your head that these are the levels. Sometimes you will have server admins who are playing server admins, and at the same time they are also playing architect roles. Okay, so this is just to give you a rough understanding. Now coming to the data roles, data architect, again your data strategy, how you will design your data models, how you will load the data, what kind of data governance principles you will be applying, all that has to be done by the data architect. And similarly, the application architect will focus solely on the software application architecture, how your front end, how your back end would connect to each other, how your microservices architecture would look like. All those kind of nuances will be catered by application architect. So guys, a natural progression which I am seeing right now is every kind of architect role is now moving on the cloud, and a wider role which is being created is of a cloud architect. So a cloud architect has to design everything on cloud end to end. The end-to-end picture has to be created by the cloud architect, and it could be that a network architect or a security architect might be working with him, but he would be the person who would think and strategize how you have to define your solution or design your solution on cloud using all kind of different cloud tools. And that's why you see all kind of different certifications. Architect certifications are very, very important. AWS architect, Google Cloud architect, Azure architect. And that's why cloud in itself is booming, guys. Cloud itself is booming, and I have myself created AWS for beginners course for someone who wants to take their first step on cloud. If you are very new to cloud, if you have never worked on AWS, which is the leading cloud provider, the link is in the description. You can check the course. It is running on a 68% discount right now, so check it. It could be your first steps, your first baby steps on the cloud. So cloud architect is one such role, and then the solution architect. Now I have thought a lot before putting solution architect here, because you could argue that solution architect could be sitting here as well. Okay, and I have seen it in different companies, but just to give you some structure, I have put solution architect. So what is a solution? Whenever you are creating any kind of a product, okay, or any kind of a project, the number one thing which you think about is the customer pain point, the customer problem. And once the problem has been defined, you then think about how you will solutionize this and how you will deliver this as a project. Okay, and that's where solution architect comes, and the solution architect's responsibility is to connect to everyone. The cloud architect, all these roles, I might have missed some arrows here and there, but you are getting the idea, right? So solution architect is the guy who is whole and sole responsible for the solution which is being developed. So for example, the water issue which I faced, whoever would have been the solution architect of that particular AC room might be sent a notice, because obviously this is an escalation, right? So yeah, so this is solution architect. And now coming to the top level, enterprise architect. So what enterprise architect does? So enterprise architect does not work into the low level designs of different projects and programs. Enterprise architect design the overall strategy, the whole vision for your overall enterprise. Okay, and that's why there's a very important certification which is called as TOGAF, which is a framework which you need to learn if you want to progress to an enterprise architect role. So you will have a lot of solution architects, all these people reporting to you, and you will be the person who would be overseeing these people, and you would be defining how our design strategy, how we will be solutionizing different kind of platforms. And enterprise architect does not go into the nuances of the solution. So they, for example, won't sit around and see, okay, should we use MySQL or should we use Oracle? Now that is a data architect's choice, right? His vision should be that in next 5 years, I need to reduce my overall spending for the database usage. Now that could be a vision, right, of an enterprise architect, and that is something which which could drill down. Secondly, there could be an enterprise architect which could envision that in next 1 year we have to migrate our legacy data warehouses to data mesh. I have recently made a video on data mesh, a latest technology, very interesting. Just read it out, just watch the video if you want to. and that kind of thing they can do as an enterprise architect. And if at all you go to the next level, which I really wish you do, but obviously reaching enterprise architect is like, okay, so one important point is here you are talking about around 20 to 25 years of IT experience. Okay, enterprise architect is that kind of area. This is somewhere around, okay, so you are getting, right? So 15 to 20 years here, and here you could be, I would give a very, very flexible range of 5 to 15 years. Now, a lot of people would question me on 5, but I have seen people who have migrated to an architect role at 5 to 7 years range. Okay, so it all depends on how you perceive and how you want to progress. But yeah, if you have to be realistic, then you can take it around 8 to 15 years then. Okay, so that is kind of a thing we are looking at. But even about this could be roles such as Chief Information Security Officer, who would be defining the company's strategy as far as cybersecurity is concerned. A very top role in the market today. And obviously the epitome is CTO, Chief Technology Officer. So a technology officer is is directly working with the CEO and the whole technology alignment, strategy, vision, regardless of whichever technology you are using, has to be envisioned and defined by your Chief Technology Officer. And here we are talking about, and again, I don't want to put numbers because again, I have seen CISOs at 20 years as well. If you are a Harvard graduate in cyber security, you could very well surpass these layers. Okay, so it also depends on your graduation, on your background, on your experience. But yeah, if you take a rough example, then maybe 25 to 30 years, that's a good age, sorry, not age, good experience, which we could consider. So yeah, imagine you are here right now and you are between 1 to 5 years. Okay, right now, imagine this, and you are playing one of these roles. Now this is the path you can take, and this is where you should be focusing your energies on. So this is the roadmap. Again, I would repeat the caveat, purely based on my experience, purely based on my research, and yes, there are nuances, and yes, there will be exceptions. So don't quote me on anything which I have said, because yes, there will always be exceptions for exceptional performers. So now let's understand the hard skills and the soft skills which you need. Again, a very interesting section, and then we'll also bust some myths about architect role. So guys, we'll quickly cover these skills because these skills are more or less generic, so I won't spend much time. You are already smart enough to understand these, but it was my duty to at least cover this in one of the sections. So in hard skills, technology expert, as an architect, you have to have expertise in one particular core domain of yours. You have to be a generalist, but then you have to have specialization in one particular thing, which is also called as T-shaped expertise, wherein you have broader skills, but then you have depth in one particular area. So for example, you could be a solution architect who has worked on multiple things like data, the infrastructure and everything, but you have core expertise in application architecture, for example. You were a Java developer, so you have core skills there. Problem solving and critical thinking, it is priceless, guys, because without this you can't even think of a solution. If you can't understand how to solve a problem, architect role will be a very challenging role for you or for anyone. Critical thinking, analyzing any decision which you are making critically and not bringing emotions into picture that much, because you have to understand that on your solution there would be a lot at stake, and that's why you have to be critical about whatever decisions you are making. So these decisions would be technical decisions as well as business decisions. Okay, and I tell you one example. For example, an architect, a cloud architect role is to also forecast how much cost a certain solution would take, and sometimes just to sway the customer, just to make the customer happy, in the pricing calculator on any of the cloud platforms, we sometimes undermine certain requirements just to bring the bill down. But if you are a critical thinker, if you believe that no, this service has to be there in order to fulfill the requirements of the customer, then you have to do critical thinking and you have to back your design. Again, system thinking and connecting the dots. It sounds easy, but when you do it, many a times people don't understand how the systems work together. So for example, if someone gives you a business problem, how you will then connect different dots and prepare that whole system end to end. So that is called as system thinking. Scripting and coding nowadays are paramount. There were times 10 years back where you could have done with some of the architect roles without coding, but now basic scripting and coding knowledge is a must. Data analysis and modeling is optional, mandatory for data architect, but optional for others. But yeah, a very good skill to have anyways. On the soft side, communication, self-explanatory, written and verbal. You have to convince a lot of people, guys. Trust me, as an architect, you have to go to different forums to back your solutions, and you need to be the master of communication, especially when you are trying to defend what you think is right, and that's the most trickier part. Business acumen. As an architect, if you understand the business, it would always be a good. Generally, you will have a business analyst with you, but if you can yourself understand what business is saying, then your life will be hell lot easier. And secondly, business will have much more ease talking to you than to a business analyst and business analyst talking to you. So business acumen, if you can gain it, nothing like it. Servant leader. Now, you have to accept the fact that you have chosen a path which is kind of a solo path. Architects are not meant to be the mass leaders, but you will be the class leaders. But you have to understand the class of people whom you are leading, and those people won't be led through authority. You have to have a servant leadership style, wherein you have to understand what your team needs first. And by the way, this is applicable to other roles as well, but I feel for architect, you have to be a servant leader with soft leadership style. So you have to be assertive, but avoid being authoritative, because as an architect, you don't have that level of authority. You have to be a scientist and you have to be an artist at the same time. Now, this is what I personally feel, that whenever you are defining a solution, don't be a robotic person who would always go by the book. You have to bring art into picture. You have to include your left and the right brain at the same time, and that's why you have to be logical, you have to be practical and analytical, but then you have to be artistic and come up with something which has never been tried before. So that's what an artist does, to create something which was never there in the world before. So every solution which you will create would be a piece of art, which would be unique in its own sense. Because if you give one problem to 10 architects, all 10 will come with their own different designs. They might use the products, but they will have their own image or their own soul into that particular design, and that's where the art part comes into picture. And finally, the most important, flexible to change course, flexible to accept that something which we discussed, decided and implemented is wrong, and I am responsible, I did not understand it, and we should roll it back, or we should course correct. You don't have to be adamant that, okay, no, my design is the best design in the world. There will be times where your design would be questioned, your design would fail, but as an architect, you have to take that and you have to accept it, and then you have to course correct at the right time. So these are some hard and soft skills. And now in the final section, guys, let's understand some myths about being an architect, which I see generally in the market today. So let's discuss those as well. So friends, time to bust some myths about architect role. Number one, all architect roles are the same. You have already seen the roadmaps of different roles. It is not the same. Generally, people have this tendency to expect that, okay, an architect role would be what? You would be drawing certain boxes and connecting it and just giving some, selling some dream of a fairy design, right? But it is not like that. All roles have its own goods and the bads and the challenging parts, okay? So not all roles are the same. Second, and very important, certification first and must. Right now, whenever I am taking interviews, what I am observing is people who are doing, who are working at an engineering role, okay, they have never worked as an architect, but they have done the certification, and when they interview for an architect role, they don't have the experience to justify that certification. And I have been always telling this, that your certification should be a proof of the work you have done in the past and not of something which you will do in the future. It is not a guarantee card. It is a proof. It is a stamp of authority. A certified cloud architect on AWS means you have already worked as an architect on AWS. If not more, than at least for one project, at least for 3 months, 6 months. Please guys, take practical experience of being an architect, and then if you do the certification, nothing like it. And I'm not saying that going for certification will not give you an edge. Yes, you might crack a job interview, you might get some good salary hike, but just doing certifications and not backing it with an architect experience is for me is a myth. Okay, I don't trust in this process, and you are all free to differ. So number 3, you need ton of experience. As I have already showed, people can move to architect role at 5 to 7 years experience as well. So it is also a myth. And finally, it is a linear path. People think that you will do this, then you will you will become this network engineer, then you can only become network architect and solution architect. It's not like that. As I said, it is not a completely linear path. The way IT is evolving, you see AI is coming, machine learning is coming. You never know which particular path you will take. So don't get fixated on this myth that it is a linear path. You might be working as a network engineer today, and take my words, you might be working as a network engineer today, but you can then also go and become a CISO, Chief Information Security Officer. You can start your journey, understand security, go into a security architect role, then become an enterprise architect and CISO. So it is not linear. It is flexible. An architect role is flexible. So it is not linear. So guys, yeah, these are some myths. I hope you got some value out of this video, and now you will be more confident on deciding whether an architect career role is for you, and if yes, which particular path is best suited for your particular journey. So I really hope you like this video. If you do, please hit the like button guys. We need your likes. It helps the channel grow. And yes, until next time, keep learning, keep sharing all your knowledge, and yes, keep hustling. Bye for now.